Hi, welcome to another episode of Loan with Jen. So today I'm here with a good friend, realtor Kathy Crosby.
Hi,
Kathy,
everyone.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So today we're talking about parents, a hack for you to build wealth for your kids. So we're talking about a long-term plan here. Of course, you know, a 401k and all these other investment instruments. I agree, and I know Kathy agrees, that real estate is the all-time investment. So we're going to talk about 3 ways today to build wealth for your kids. So Kathy, thanks for joining us today. You have experience with this. It's most of your clientele.
I do, and I'm also in that empty nest zone where I am learning a lot about real estate, and there are things that I wish I had done whenever my children were born, and there are things that I wish to do now that the market is kind of calming down a little bit, but we're seeing it ramp back up again, of course. So there really is no time like the present than to build real estate wealth. And I just found it really interesting, and I think we need to share it with everybody out there who has children or thinking about having children so that they can build the wealth for their kids, because we want to leave a legacy for our families. And This is a tremendous way to do that. And it just will help them out in the long run.
So that takes us to scenario number 1 in building wealth. And the one that I wish I had done too, because my kids, now it's too late. They're already 17 and 12. But let's rewind the clock and say that I did this in their first few years of birth. So scenario number 1 is when they're born or soon thereafter, buy an investment property. Yes. And so let's talk about that. Let's talk about the concept of that. So you buy an investment property, and then what do they do?
Well, you buy a rental property, and there are formulas for doing that and things to consider, but you are buying the rental property and you are theoretically hanging on to that for about 18 years until they go to college or until they do whatever they're going to do when they graduate high school. And at that point, you can sell the property to get the equity out of it, to pay for whatever their future is going to be, or you can do a cash out refi to get that equity out, or you can even sell that home to that child with a strategy of gifting equity. Is that correct?
Yeah. So we're going to pause for a minute, because we just threw a lot out at the listeners or the watchers. So the first way is, like, let's say you buy the property and you let it go for, the idea is I'm going to just let this roll for 18 years. Okay. So when you're buying it, it's good to know that you're going to have to put 25% down for at least a decent rate on an investment.
Right.
And then how much should they look for? Because you've dealt with a lot of investors. You actually have a vast experience of rehabbing houses, and you have a really unique background. What should they look for as cash flow when they're renting something out?
They would like to see at least $300 per month in cash flow. And that is not money that you're using to live your life. That is money to stay in that house account to pay for maintenance over that period of 18 years. Because inevitably you're going to have your air conditioner needs repair, or perhaps during that period you'll need a new roof. So you don't want to have to pull out of your own personal finances necessarily to take care of that. You want to have that house account handle that.
So to break that down, that means, like, let's say I buy a property and let's say the monthly payment with, like, tax, insurance, everything included is $2,500. I want to look to where I should be able to rent that for $2,800.
Yes.
So when I'm with my realtor, and that's what y'all do, I tell people all the time, like, talk to your realtor. Y'all can look in the MLS, right? You can look up average rents in the area. So if you're looking at something with a client, you can say, okay, this is going to be your PITI, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. We need to look for, are the rental values at least $2,800, $300 a month more? So that would be considered a good investment.
Definitely a good investment.
So you get in, just let the house ride. You could be collecting rent. We actually have some other episodes that you might want to check out about property managers. I'm a big proponent of property managers. We only have one rental, and we have a property manager because it's not just our highest and best use. You know, we're not used to that. So that's another episode. You could check out the channel and look for that. But basically, you just let this investment ride. And
Mhm.
so average, as a realtor, you're going to have probably a better knowledge of this number than me, but in Houston anyway, in our market, average appreciation over time,
Yes.
it's like 4 to 5%, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So let's say you're in it for 18 years
Mhm.
at an average of 4% a year. I actually wrote down the number because it's my cheater. That's 72% increase, and I haven't even compounded. Really, it's more because it's compounding
Right.
effect. So that's a 72% increase in value over 18 years. So that
Mhm.
means if you had a $400,000 purchase, that 72% increase in value over that 18 years means that you would sell it essentially for about $688.
Right.
If those were the market times at the time.
Right.
So you would take that profit. Number one, you've been paying down the loan
Mhm.
for free because the rent's been paying
Well, I was
for
going to
it.
say, you haven't been. The renter
Yeah.
has. Yeah.
I mean, if you had a 30-year loan, you're
Yes.
about halfway through.
Yes.
So if you had a 200,000, if you had a loan, if you bought a place for 400,000 and you financed, let's say 320,
320.
you're probably at 150. But regardless of that, in this example, you jumped from a $400,000 value up 72%, that overtime number that we talked about, to 688. Right there, that's 280
Right.
that you're increased in value, plus the equity that's been built up
Mhm.
at no money out of pocket of your own, having kept it rented for all that time.
Right.
So you could sell the property, get the money out,
Mhm.
and you've got money right there. You've got money to pay
Pay for college,
that
pay for
kid.
wedding, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And yes, and that child.
If you don't want to do that and you want to keep renting it, you could do a cash out loan. You could
Mhm.
refinance that loan and get equity out. On an investment property, you can get equity out up to 75% of the value. So you would take that new higher value of, let's say, for this example, $688,000, and you would times that by 75%,
Right.
and that would be the max loan that you can get.
Yes.
You won't get out as much as if you had just sold the property, but that's one way that's a hack to build wealth.
Yes.
For
And
your
that's a
kid.
considerable chunk of change,
Mhm.
no matter how you look at it.
Yeah, and it's and real estate, I really believe that it's much safer than the stock market.
Right.
I really think real estate is a great investment. So that's hack number one.
Agreed.
And then we talked about hack number two is you could actually sell that property that you bought
Mhm.
to your kid. So as long as it's still a desirable area and, it's a house that they like, which hopefully that would be the case.
Right.
Let's say that they're now graduated college and they have a job and they've got some credit. You've got to help them develop credit, over time. Then you can sell the house to them
Mhm.
and they don't have to make a down payment. It's called a gift of equity. So I'll talk about that part because that's my wheelhouse.
I was about to say, I love this strategy because this is kind of new information for me. So I'm very
Yeah.
intrigued.
Yeah.
with this.
So let's just say that the house is now worth $700,000. We're talking about that same $400,000 house that now has appreciated to the $688,000 or $700,000, let's say.
Mhm.
And let's say that you just want to gift it to them. You're just like, I just want to sell this house. I just want to have enough to pay my loan. Let's say your loan is $150,000.
Mhm.
And that difference between the $700,000 and whatever you're willing to accept to pay the loan or pay yourself back for a little bit of your investment, you decide that number. But let's just say for easy math that you sell it to them for $400,000, which was your initial.
Right.
Let's just say, okay, I'm going to sell you this house. Well, I'm going to sell you the house for $700,000, but I only really want $400,000 out of it. So that's a $300,000 delta, right?
Yes.
So the kid's loan is going to be $400,000 as long as they can qualify for that.
Sure.
And if they can't, you could lower it if you
Mhm.
want. I mean, you're the owner, right? You could do what you want to do. So let's just say that the $400,000 works. You sell it to your kiddo for the $700,000, but their loan is $400,000.
Mhm.
And as long as they qualify for that payment, that $300,000 is, you can just gift them. You sign a gift letter for us. It's just a paper trail. And at closing, $300,000 from your seller proceeds literally gets hopped over to their side,
them.
and that's their down payment.
It's a very nice gift.
It's very nice. Now, you know, there might be tax ramifications depending on what tax gift limits are at that time as far as your lifetime tax contributions. So that we'll have to deal with in 18 years when your kid is buying the house from you. But essentially, letting a house build in value where you have major equity, and you can really, the equity that you've built up to any amount that you choose, you're basically going to sell the house to your kid. They have no money out of pocket. I mean, you can give them closing cost credit. They'll come out literally with like zero.
Wow.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing.
Well, and this is a great strategy. I'm assuming can work on your primary home too. Like if you want to.
Yeah, if you're going to sell it to them.
Sell it to them.
And you're going to go to buy something else. It can be any type of home that you own. Yeah, that you can do that. So you can give a gift of equity to when you're selling to a family member.
Wonderful.
Okay, so that's a second strategy. Now, the third strategy that we talked about, let's say that you didn't buy it when they were born. Let's say that you now buy it when they're in college.
Yes.
So the third strategy is your kiddo's going to college, like yours is about to.
Yes.
And so tell us about that.
And this is a new strategy I just learned about myself. The thought was it would be really nice to buy a property where he's going to school, because we know he'll be there for 4 years. And instead of paying rent to someone who, if you're in real estate, that just bothers you. It does, to have to pay rent to anybody else. So you want to buy a property. Well, my first initial thought was, gosh, it's an investment property. We have to put 25% down. And that's a big chunk of change when you're talking about a college town. Most places are going to be $400,000 minimum, because you want to get at least, I would think, a 3-bedroom property, because
roommates.
The idea is you buy this property, then your roommates essentially pay that mortgage.
Yeah.
But I learned that you only have to put about 3 to 5% down, because your child is going to live in that property, and they can also be on the loan with you. Correct?
They can. So this is a really great strategy. So we get calls from lots of parents that say, my child is going to college and I want to buy a property for them. So the first thing that we do is we try to put the kid on the loan. Now the kid needs credit. They have to have a credit score. And it's the important thing is it's not a credit score that they've been mooching off your authorized user accounts. Like, you need to get them their own credit card. Now you might pay it when they're young, but like them just being an authorized user on your Amex, that's like a fake credit score.
Okay.
So lenders actually don't like that. We make you remove yourself from that so we can see what your standalone credit is. So one thing you can do as a parent is to work on getting your child, from the time that they're able to get a credit card, I think it's like 16 or 17, building their own standalone credit. Okay, so that's number one. So when they go to college, putting them on the loan as the primary occupant, they don't have to have any income. They're just there, but they do have to have that credit score.
Okay.
Okay. So if you start when they're 15, 16, then it should be okay after 3 years. And they only need one credit card, y'all. You don't need a ton of stuff for this to happen. So do that. And then it's considered a primary residence because they're living there as their primary. Now you're co-signing. Okay. So your income, merit, and all that is co-signing, and they're on that property, and you can co-sign and you don't have to be on title. So they can be the only ones in title, or you can be on there with them, but they can do 3% down as a first-time buyer.
Wow.
Which I'm assuming if they're in college, they're a first-time buyer.
Right.
Or you can choose to put more down, that's fine.
Right.
And it starts getting credit in their name, but it starts having a house in their name as well. And then later on, you can decide what you want to do with it. Y'all might want to keep that as a rental. You might want to, refinance it into their name only. And that's them acquiring or really kind of inheriting this real estate that's either making rental income for themselves, or y'all can sell it later on when you don't want to do that anymore and
figure out how to
split the proceeds. Yeah.
Well, and it's a great strategy. House hacking is a great strategy for anybody who wants to buy their first home.
Yeah.
If they buy a 2 or 3 bedroom home, then ideally those renters are paying you the rent that is paying your mortgage. So theoretically, the primary is living there for free.
Yeah.
Is what your goal is. And so I think this is a fantastic way to build wealth for your children.
Yeah. So these are 3 ways that parents can help their kids with wealth building with real estate, which is the best investment.
Absolutely.
All right, Miss Kathy, thank you so much. I'll put Kathy's information down below if you want to contact her if you're in the Houston area and you need an awesome realtor right here.
Thank
this lady.
you.
She's got a heart of gold. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you on another episode.